Hello everyone, welcome back for our hopefully final part for this tutorial, and we're going to add all the details into it. So last time we finished the general sculpting of this model, and we ensured the continuity of the surface across the whole device, which is exactly things that we are looking for in the real industry. And this time, let's put on some details. First of all, for this part that we didn't fillet the edge here, and we are going to work on that first. So I will isolate this item, and then I will just come back to this fillet edge. I will select face edge and select face, and I'll also the radius I will change it to 0.25. I guess that's what we used. If it's not, you can always go back to the video and check. Okay, so they didn't really inherit this change. So let's do it again and select the face, do it again, 0.25, hit enter. Okay, now this time it worked. We come to the front view, we compare. Okay, this looks like close enough to me. You guys can definitely find the exact number from the previous video, and you can use it, apply the number to it. The next thing I will do is I will come to here. I will select the face, hit enter again, 0.25, perfect. So the next step I will do is I will come back to the front view, and I will do this suction parts within this device. What I will do here is I will come back to I will hide everything. Okay, we don't see any curves here. I will come back to the reference curves. Remember this curve that I mentioned before that we used to cut this device into half? So the first thing I will do is I'll copy, paste, and then bring it to our current layer, default layer, and I'll hide everything else. And then what I will do is I'm trying to make a bunch of sections from here to here to here, and then use those sections as our reference lines to make the profile of this part of the device. So what I will do is like I will simply copy and paste. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is only draw some perpendicular line in between those parallel lines. What I can do is that I can draw a rectangle, and I will choose the option 3 point. I will select first point, second point, and third point. So basically this will help us to draw a rectangle that based on the reference lines you are trying to do. So this line will be perpendicular to both parallel lines, which is exactly what we want. The next thing I will do is I will copy and paste this to here, right? I'll draw a similar rectangle here, REC 3 point from here to here, and then to here. Okay, so actually now I can hide this device. I don't really need it for any moment soon. And the next thing I will do is I will actually move it up a little bit, trying to make it as center as possible. I will use the center of this as an anchor point, move to here. Okay, now it looks all right to me. And next thing I will do is I will hide this line. So make sure that I can select the midpoint every time. I will make a rectangular perpendicular line from here to here again, and trying to find the rotating axis, revolving axis for this thing. We will kind of revolve it in a second. And what I find that is this is actually not the center. So the center is roughly here, right? As you can see that. And it's not centered enough. What I can do, there are two ways. There are two possibilities. First, this device inside is not perfectly symmetrical from top to the bottom. That's a possibility. Like I don't have this device with me, so I cannot measure it. But based on the image, it seems like it. In order to make this tutorial like a little bit easier, I will just decide to make this perfectly symmetrical from the top to the bottom, from the left to the right. So I might will, again, scale this a little bit. Scale 1D. I will choose scale 1D. I'll select these points, and scale it a little bit. Make it a little bit more towards to the center. Okay, and maybe down a little bit, not that much. Perfect. Now we will draw the rectangle again. So this line right here will be our axis. This line. And then the next step I will do is I will draw the contour, like the profile lines. Again, it's pretty easy. I can just do fillet here. Once looks too tiny. How about 2? Okay. Oh, actually, I have to draw this first. Kind of connect them together. And I only need half of them since we are going to revolve it in a second. So I will choose trim everything else. Just keep this, and F stands for fillet. And then I will explode this curve, delete this part, F again, 2, 2, and 2 here. Actually, I want this thing to, this device is definitely 100% within this part. So let me unhide this. And let's bring this edge a little bit inward. I will select this point, and I'll select the end point here. And then I'll move it in a little bit. Move. Okay, so to make sure that it's all within this device. The next thing I will do is I will hide this part again. Delete this. Hide this. Oh, this part, the fillet is a little bit too big. So I will change it to maybe 1. Okay, this looks good to me. And then again here, let's have 1. Next step, I will do revolve. I will select curve to revolve, and then hit enter. So start of revolve axis, right? Which line you will use to as reference. And hit enter, hit enter. Perfect. Oh, there's something wrong here. I think our axis had a problem. Oh, no. Our reference line has problem. It was somehow attached to other surface, so it's not perfectly 2D right now. What we can do to fix it is pretty easy. Set PT, which stands for set points. And as you can see that there's X, Y, Z, and right here, XYZ plane. It's definitely the X plane. So I will click off the X, Y, and Z plane, keep the X here, and hit enter. Okay, so I was wrong. Sorry, then it's Y. So you can always test it out. Now it's what we want. So I will do revolve again. Select the curve to revolve, starting of the edge, end of the edge, hit OK, enter. Now it's perfect. So, but the problem is that if this outside of the device can cover it or not. Okay, so we unhide it. You can see that it can perfectly cover it, because as you guys all remember, we generated this overall shape with the sweep 2 rails, so that the section of this is actually not perfectly circle, because we didn't cut this on a plan that's exactly perpendicular to the rails. I mean, it's hard to understand mathematically, and it's hard to present it verbally. All I want you to know is that the section of this device here is not a perfect circle. No matter how hard we try, it's going to be very hard to maintain this kind of perfect section across the whole space. So we have to be careful of that to make sure this device is not going to be too big. Okay. The next thing I will do is I will come to the front view. I will try to draw this part and this like suction device. I don't know how to say it. And what I will do is I will find this. I will unhide all the curves, reference curves. I cannot find that one. Yeah, it's okay. I will just draw it right here from start to here. And just draw this curve, bring it to the reference point, like scale it up a little bit. What I will do next is I will again copy and paste, bring it to this point, draw a rectangle, 3 points, delete everything else, and use this as our revolve line in a second, axis in a second. So the next thing I will do is I will just pretty straightforward. I will draw a curve here, draw another curve right here. Fill it there, and then offset it. I will choose 0.5. That looks good to me. And then I will blend the surface, blend curve, sorry. Hit OK. Join them all together. And then revolve the curve again. Curve. And the start of the axis, end of the axis. Hit OK, hit enter. Okay, so we got this device. I mean, of course, you have to kind of get rid of this part too. And but our goal is to make a overall shape of this device. And I don't think we are going to go over to the details like how to get rid of this. And after that, we have to make a thickness of this device and everything. Let's not push us too far for this project. And then the next thing I will do is so let's change it to a different display mode, which is a ghosted. And you can see that this is pretty decent as what we want. So next thing I will do is I will cut off this surface here, and then I will make this edge for part of our modeling process. I'll come to the front view. I will draw a reference line like always. I'll turn off the O snap to make sure that I don't accidentally touch anything. I will start from a line here, a point here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I mean, it's not perfect here because we kind of have the edge here, but it's okay. Again, we are not trying to mimic exactly what happened in their model, rather to understand the process of modeling. So 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And I will turn on the O snap again, attach it here. So there are 15 points. Yeah. Oh, we missed a point here. It shouldn't be an even number for a rectangle. So I will add a point here, control points here. I will just put it right here, hit enter, hit OK. So perfect. Let me isolate this item and then trying to make it a little bit better. By just adjusting those control points a little bit more. Okay, and it looks decent to me. And let me unhide this. Make sure that this edge will have some good connections or good distance with the other edge. So yeah, I think this is pretty good. The next thing I will do is I will split this surface, right? And before that, let me go to the top view. I will unhide everything. I'll turn it onto the shaded mode, and I want to delete everything on the other half. So I will select everything, delete it, and also this part we already did the fillet, so it's going to be hard to really clean it up. I would rather just delete it all to make sure that everything is clean. Perfect. So next thing I will do, yeah, right, this part should be jointed. Doesn't really match. What's the problem with that? Okay, now it joins in, and I will just make another layer. Just say end cap. Okay, and I'll hide it. End cap is good. Okay, so because those two surfaces kind of overlap with each other, I don't want to constantly bother to explode them and then join them together and so on and so forth. Right now, let me just make a group. Let me make sure that, okay, so they have their repeated part on the other separated surface too. So the next thing I will do is I'll go back to the front view. I will choose split. I'll select the object to split, which is this surface right here. And then I will select the cutting objects, which is the line we were using. And bang, we cut it. Looks pretty good. Although the kind of gap here is not like perfectly smooth or it's not perfectly parallel, but it's actually okay. The reason behind it is when we really made it out, this part will be one piece. Okay, so this will be a continuous surface. This like this part and this part, this part, this part. They are going to be a continuous surface. That means this edge in between, it shows on our model, but actually in the real manufacture process, it's not going to be even existed. So it's not going to be seen at all. That's why it's actually good. So again, go back to rendered view. You can barely see any like you are not going to see any variation there. So we will come to this surface here. The next thing I will do is I will basically isolate those two surfaces, and then I will just repeat what we did before. We come over to this command here. Let me try to find it. Okay, here. Extrude curve, normal to surface, right? What we did before. Select the curve, and then the base surface. And I will choose like flip, and I'll choose 1. Hit OK. So I'll join them together. Oh, this part was not successfully extruded, maybe because it's actually have a breaking points here. And let's solve that problem by repeating this process. Curve and select curve, base, hit enter. Okay. So perfect. So I'm going to join them together, copy, paste, and then join with exterior. First one here, I hide this, and then also join those two together. Unhide everything. I'll keep those two, isolate them again. Oh, I will lock them, unlock them, and then I will do the like fillet or fillet the edge. Sorry if my pronunciation is wrong. And I will come over here, select this same tool, select edges to fillet, and I will again choose the face edges, hit enter. Actually, I will do 0.25. Let's see, hit enter, hit enter. Let's see what it looks like. Okay. It looks pretty decent to me. Same as this one. We will choose the edges to fillet. Surface, face edges. And hit enter, hit enter. Takes a little bit of time. A lot of calculations are going on. So we will flip that surface and then come over here. We can choose to unhide everything else, render the mode, and you can see that it actually is pretty nice, right? The smoothness of this surface is obviously preserved very well, and that's exactly what we want. There is a little bit gap here. I think it's because of we didn't join them together. See, if we join them together, it will not be seen at all. Okay, so that's what we want. The next thing I will do is, of course, I will change it back to the shaded mode. Flip this, or mirror this. Actually, before that, I will explode it, unhide this part, mirror this. 0, okay, perfect. And then I will join everything together. So everything on the back has been joined in and looks great. I will hide this part, hide this part, hide this part, and we can see that. Let's check the zebra line again. Look at that. All the edges are perfectly matched. Okay. Okay, this looks great for me. The next thing I will do is I will hide all the objects, select all the surface curves, then send it to reference curves because we are not going to need them for a while. Okay, the next part of the overall shape. I mean, there are some writings here, the language, logo or whatever is right here. I mean, I'm really not interested in put it there right now because actually it's a very tedious process. You are not going to learn much new about this. So let's just not cover that for our course because of the time and everything. And then finally, like the last thing we really kind of need to put effort on is to draw these curves of this surface right here. So, and then let's see how we're going to do it and what we're going to do it. Okay. What I will do is I will come to the image, reference image, and take a good look of it. You can see that there's this kind of surface has been tucked in or offset into the internal a little bit. And then this edge right here is kind of like a half of the circle shape. And of course, it's symmetrical on the other side. What we can do here is like, let's come over here and then we do it in the traditional method, which is just draw a bunch of circles and project to the surface and see what's going to happen. So we're going to draw a circle here. And then we're going to project to the surface. So I would type project, select the curve to project and surface and hit OK. So you can see that on the front view, it looks like a perfect circle. But when you project it to a 3D surface that has curvature everywhere, it becomes this weird shape, right? So fortunately, we have a tool that's embedded in Rhino, which is called like draw a hole on the surface or something. Let's see what it looks like. It's pretty like straightforward. Look at the logo, right? It's called round hole. I will select it, select the target surface, and I will make sure that direction is just surface normal. That means that this hole will always perpendicular to this surface. So what I will do here is using this. So I will isolate this along with the reference image. I will lock the reference image again, come to the front view, and they are on the same line, kind of aligned. So I will draw a curve here. And again, this is not exactly the same as their, this degree or angle is not the same as their original product. But again, our goal is to make this model consistent by itself and make sure that continuity of surface will be preserved. So I will just draw a line here as a reference line, and I will bring it to here. Oh, before that, let me project this line into this surface. I'll come to here, select project, and select curve to project, select the surface, and okay. Okay, so we got this, and then we will divide this curve to 4 different parts, segments, and then we got 3 points in between, right? 1, 2, 3, and that means like the distance in between are all the same, very consistent. The next thing I will do is I will come to here and start our process of drawing the circle on the surface by using this tool called, round hole. Okay, so I will select the target surface. Again, make sure that the direction is surf normal, right? And I will choose a radius at 1.5, the depth is 1. The depth actually doesn't matter. You will understand why in a second. I'll draw over here, and it automatically shows up this hole here. Actually, we don't really want to like just exactly draw a hole here because it's a half circle shape on the real projection. So we only want this line as a reference instead of really cutting it on the surface. So what we can do is we will come to here, and there's a tool called duplicate edge. I will select this edge, select this edge, and select this edge, and enter. So I got the surface, and then I want to make the surface back to what it looks like before. I will just come over here and right click this. Left click is trim, right click is untrim. I will untrim this, click it, and click it. So in that way, we only take the surface, take the circle, instead of really doing anything to the surface. So the next step I will do is I will make this a group and bring all the annoying lines into our reference curves. Go to the front view, and then we will draw this. We'll kind of like bring it here, and you see that we are trying to find the most exterior points of here to make sure that there is no overlap here. And if we move it here, right, we extend this line, we still can see overlap, just to make sure that you kind of like find the tangent. To find the tangent line here, I will copy and paste right here. Again, I will try to find the tangent line. Again, on this. And again, on this part. Hit enter. Perfect. So the next thing I will do is I will come over to the front view, and I'll project all the lines into our surface. So I'll select project and select the surface, hit enter. So let's see over here. All right, this is what we want. This is actually exactly what they have done here. And I will select all those curves, bring it to backups or reference curves, and then we will start our a little bit tedious process of cleaning those things, and you understand what I'm doing in a second. First, I will hide. Let me ungroup this, and I'll hide this right here. And what we want to do is like we will type trim and try and trim something. See, it's like completely trimmed everything. That means that this edge is not in a perfect condition, and it works on those two. but not this one. So we have to come to the front view, kind of zoom in and to figure out what's going on. So it's not perfect. Let me just cross this part first, clean up a little bit, and then come over here. And again, just trying to find the perfect points to trim them. Okay, I kind of trimmed the overlapped part here a little bit. And now I'll trim that part. And let's join them together. This one worked. This one doesn't work. This part worked. This one doesn't work at all. And let's delete some of the ending points to make this overall like a little bit smoother. Yeah, this looks fine to me. Actually, I'm going to keep it. And let's zoom in here and see what's the condition. As you can see that this, since we didn't find the perfect like tangent, right? So there are some part are overlapped, or so on and so forth. So what I would just do is just delete that part, or I'll move that curve right here. Hit enter. And then trying to join them together. Perfect. This time it works. And again, this is very tedious, but that's actually how this should be done. We will clean up here, and we will find the edge condition here. Move this a little bit to another place, and see here. Okay. Now let's go to the next step, which is, so we can select everything. Everything is perfect. Unhide this, and then select those 3 curves. We will choose split. Select the object to split. Cutting objects. Hit OK. And then we will get this curve surfaces, and you can see that it kind of offset the surface inward a little bit. We're going to do that too. Join all of them together and offset them. Surface, change the distance to 0.5, and flip all, because we want to move it inward. Hit enter, and we will get our surface. We kind of don't need this surface anymore. We will just bring it to backups, and we will isolate those 3, explode it, and delete it, and we will see. So this is the condition we will see here. And the next step that I'm going to do is, you can see that this not just offset the surface inward a little bit, also the inside is a little bit smaller than outside. Not outside, sorry. Like this part, the edge also offset inward a little bit. So in order to do so, we have to again isolate those 3. Come over here, select isolate objects, and then we will, let's try first offset just curve, right? We will select the curve and to offset it, and you can see that because of the limitation of the algorithm, it doesn't really offset anything decent or like in a right way. In order to make it right, we will need to use, most of the time we will use this tool over here. Maybe it's right here. Okay, it's right here. Offset curve on surface, right? We select this curve, and we just select distance to 1, and see, it's actually very decent. 1 is a little bit too much. Let's change it to 0.05, sorry, 0.5, and I'll do 0.5, and I'll flip. Still inherited the 1. Let's do again 0.5, and flip. Hit enter. Okay, perfect. So yeah, 0.5 looks much better to me. I will do it on here, this surface too. Flip 0.5. This one is a little bit messy because it breaks in between, but it's okay. We'll flip 0.5, flip, 0.5, perfect. So the next thing what I will do is I will come over here and zoom in here, right, and kind of trim them with each other, join them together. Okay. And yeah, I will copy and paste everything, send to the backup just in case I need it in the future. I'm pretty sure I won't, but just again, good behavior to keep. The next thing I will do is I will cut the objects. I will just make it easier to select. I will come to the front view, select and cut objects, and bang. Oh, it doesn't work. Why is that? It's because this curve right here is not perfectly attached with the other with the outside edge. So what I can do to solve that is I will simply move this curve a little bit, select, trim, and trim. Okay. So again, this might, let's see on this side too. When we offset something, the algorithm sometimes doesn't work very well with the edge condition. So what we have to do is to patiently move those control points out a little bit to make sure that it covers everything. Okay, and we trim that, trim it. Okay, perfect. Again, right here. Perfect. We trim this and trim this. Okay, that is exactly what we want. And let's flip everything, mirror everything, including this surface, and see their conditions. Select the 0, hit enter, zebra. You can see that the continuity in between surfaces on both vertical and horizontal are perfect. Okay, that is a big relief that this part works, and we will delete this again and trying to blend this blend the surface together. So what we'll do is blend surf, first edge, second edge, and hit enter. We have learned this a lot many times, so I will not repeat the algorithm in between. But in order to make, so I will hit OK here, and you can see that there's there are too much like variations in between the surface, and it tucked in a little bit. I don't want that. I want the connection in between is smoother. What I can do is I will again add some sections in between. To better visualize this, I will just isolate this. Okay, so since now we have got isolated everything, let's start to blend the surface together, which we have done many times. First edge, second edge, I will choose G3. Let's be picky, hit OK. And you can see that the continuity, no doubt, has been preserved in a great shape. You can see that all the edge conditions are great, right? Yeah. However, the problem is that there are too much variations on the surface. It's not like a smooth transition. It's like in order to preserve this perfect derivative of the surface on both ends, it kind of like have too much tucked in inside. So I'll delete this, and again I will blend surf, hit first, second, and I will choose add some shapes in between. On each side I will add 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Move to this side. 1, 2, and 1, 2. Hit OK. Then I will zoom in. I'll hit enter. I will zoom in here. Select this. And if you want to zoom in to the very detailed part, you can hit Control, and at the same time you can click the right click your my mouse, and then you can start to zoom into the exact place where you want to in a very detailed manner. I will just keep playing with those handle a little bit. You can see that it makes sense, right? There's 1, 2, 3, 4 on this side. That means they have G0, G1, G2, G3. So that's how they do the math behind. So we'll again zoom kind of push this in a little bit on this side, push this in a little bit on this side. Same, repeat it here. Kind of boring, but necessary. You can just choose not to auto snap. You can turn it off. Otherwise, sometimes it will automatically attach to the edge, which is not what you want. Okay, so I will hit OK. And you can see that this is much better. The transition is smoother. And we will do the zebra. Bang. Right. There's this gap in between, but it's actually just the algorithm way of calculating. If you join them together, you see immediately it disappears. So this is perfectly G3 continuity in between, which is even higher than most of the industry standards. Okay, so we are going to repeat what we have done on those parts also. I will just, again, blend, surf, here, add stops. Okay, so second part is done. Okay, the continuity is great. Let's look at the rendered. It's perfectly smooth. Go back to the shaded, and let's go to the last one. Again, blend, surf, first, second. You can see that there, we mentioned that before, that this part is not perfectly continuous, which is totally fine. We will again add shapes. 1, 2 on this side, and then hit enter or hit space. Zoom this in. Play with the handle again. Okay, hit OK. And again, first edge, second edge, add shapes. 1, 2, and also here 1. The other side is already done. Hit enter. And I will zoom here a little bit, play with it a little bit, change the continuity, trying to make it as best I can. Okay, and then we hit OK. But of course, this part, we have to match the surface, which we have done many times. First surface to match, second surface to match. Preserve the like ISO curve direction, curvature, hit OK. Let's see, and join them together if it works or not. Okay, it looks fine. Zebra, hit OK. Change it to vertical, to horizontal, make it thick. Okay, so yeah, it looks a little bit bulky or weird, but you still can see that the continuity has been preserved. So this is perfect, right? There's nothing like break, there's no edge breaks in between. That's exactly what we want. Now the next thing we will do is we will come here, select everything, mirror it, and then join them together, choose zebra, and see the details in between. As you can see that it's not like amazingly beautiful transition, but you can see that the zebra line has been continuous from the beginning to the end, right? So this is extremely well preserved, the continuity of the surface, and this is what we want actually. So the next step I will do is I will delete everything. Oh, sorry, it's being joined together. Delete everything, No, 1 second. Go to the top view and then mirror it. Hit OK. So at this moment, let's join them all together. And let's check if there is any naked edges on this surface by using this tool called Show Edges. Select the surface, hit enter, and naked edge. Okay, there's only this part which should be there. Okay, so right, this is exactly what we want. And now we will unhide the end cap. We will mirror it again to the 0, hit OK, and join them together. Ooh, that's exactly what we need. Select everything. Still some curves in this model. What we will do is we will choose filter and surface, polysurface, select them and select all the curves and bring to reference curves. Okay. Unhide everything. So now it's a very clean model with amazingly well preserved continuity across the surfaces. And I will choose like X-ray, right? It looks good. The next thing I would do is actually I went back to the description of this device online, and I realized that from the top to the bottom, it's actually 200 millimeters, so 20 centimeters. So what we said before is 4 inches. So we're going to scale it up a little bit, but that's okay to do. And we will, in order to make it precise, we will select everything, type in bounding box, sorry, BOUNDING, okay, hit OK. Right, we got a bounding box here. And then we will go to the front view. Let's measure it. Sorry, I will measure this. DRM. First point. Sorry. Oh snap. Top to the bottom. Bottom to the top is like 106. That's too tiny. What I want to do is I want to unhide everything, right? So that I can make sure when I scale things up, nothing will be unselected and everything will be scaled up all together. So in the future, if we want to change anything, we can always come back and change it. So I will come to this view. I will draw a line here, go to the front, change it to orthogonal and type in 200. Okay. So this line, let's taper it, measure it. It's exactly 200. You can see it right here. It's exactly 200. And then we will select everything but this curve. We'll go to the front view. Oh, sorry, front view and type in scale. Go to perspective. Select these points. Select these points and scale everything. Okay. So I will delete this bounding box. And I will hide the backups, the reference curves. Right. Also, this is a reference curve. I mean, so, and I will reference curves and then shade it. So the next part, something we can work on it or we don't have to is like this little button here. I don't know how to say it. I don't really want to model this here because this is a completely like different surface. We don't really preserve any continuity in between. So if you are interested, you can make a little shape here and kind of put them together, right? There's no continuity in between you can work on. And yeah, I think that's all we're going to cover for this part of the tutorial. In the future, we might well use this example as our rendering object. And I will make a separate video of will teach you how to put this button here and how to put some like logo on the side. But by so far, I think this tutorial itself is very thorough about what we have to learn. And the key are again blend surfaces and also mesh surfaces. Okay, hopefully you enjoyed this, and yeah, let's meet in the other tutorial. Thank you.